Hello everybody, welcome on in. If you are new around here, I'm Astrologer Victoria from Your Wings of Ascension. And today we are looking at this Venus retrograde. This is a very talked about event for good reason. There is a lot to this, so we're going to just break this down little bit by little bit, but I promise it's not going to be too much, it's not going to be overwhelming, and we'll just give you some insight and some tips on how to navigate through this in the way that is going to help evolve and grow. Because at the end of the day, that is why we use tools like astrology, to evolve and grow. All right, so before we get into what is actually going on here, let's look at the dates so we have a time frame of this, right? So if you've heard about this anywhere, and this is not a criticism of anybody who says this, but you're probably only hearing that this retrograde is from July 22nd until September 3rd. Now, that is true. The retrograde itself is within that few month period, but we always have almost like a pre and post game phase of any retrograde in any planet. It doesn't matter. Some are a little bit longer if it's a long retrograde. Some are a little bit shorter if it's a shorter retrograde. Makes sense, right? So for this retrograde, because this is a few months, we have about a month before with the pregame and about a month after with the postgame. So the pregame is the pre-shadow phase, which for this retrograde started June 19th. So this was us getting into an awareness of Venus and Venus in Leo and the Venus retrograde themes. So I'm not even going to go into it until we go further in, but that was the kind of the pregame, getting into that energy. Then, the full retrograde, and then from the postgame from September 3rd to October 7th is a period of us understanding what we've just been through, going back into it and creating sense from it so that we can restructure going forward. So that is a theme for all retrogrades, but this is the dates for this one specifically. Now let's talk about the actual, and my button never works, and I don't know where my mouse is hiding. Mouse? Hello? That was weird. My actual mouse didn't want to work. That was weird. All right, so retrogrades. Let's talk about just retrograde period. So technically, now I guess I have to do another little asterisk first. So with astrology in general, we, as of right here, right now, believe that we are not the center of the universe, that the sun is the center and everything rotates around the sun. However, astrology is the observation of and the tracking of cycles in our universe. So if we are tracking these cycles and we are observing these things, we could do it from a sense of knowing where the planets are, but if we're just using the observational skills of our human body, we're looking at everything from the vantage point of Earth. So it appears, because this is where we're observing, that everything is rotating around us. It really is irrelevant that that's not what's going on, because we're tracking the cycles as if it is. I hope that makes sense. So retrogrades are when a planet, any planet, is going along doing its thing, and then it stops and it goes backwards. Now we know that it's not actually going backwards, but it appears that its normal rotation forward is stopping, pausing, and it's now starting to go backwards. Energetically, we feel the energy in the same way. When we have a planet just going along doing its thing, we're processing through it, we're living through the zodiac sign that it's in, and when it goes into retrograde, we are now stopping and we're reviewing what's happening because we're going backwards, we're retracing our steps. So any retrograde in any planet in any sign, I always go by these three things. We are revisiting the themes of the planet. We are redefining our understanding and belief structure with this planet. And then we are restructuring our life around what we have learned during the retrograde phase. So, with this being a Venus retrograde, what are we learning? We are going back into our past. We are looking at the steps of maybe just the last few months, maybe the last few years, maybe your entire life, maybe into your past lives. It will be different for everybody. But we are revisiting these themes of Venus. So love, money, values, art and beauty, and self-worth. But let's look at these a little bit more depth to them. So love, we know what love means when we hear it, but do we truly know what it means for the individual? What is your love language? Your Venus sign dictates your love language. Now I'll pause here. If you do not know what your Venus sign is, I will put in the description below the video that I have created. It's very easy. I think it's like maybe 8 minutes. You need no astrology knowledge whatsoever. Go in and pull up your own chart and see where your natal Venus is. The sign of your Venus, that alone is going to tell you a whole lot about your love language. So, let me get a drink, hold on. If you have an Earth Venus, you're probably going to be someone who's understanding love through practicality. Example, you go to the office, you work, you go out, your partner works from home. You have a really big meeting, and that morning your partner gets up early, they make you a nice breakfast, they make sure you have coffee to go. That for an Earth Venus is absolutely love. It's caring for you, your partner caring for you, or you caring for your partner. Now this isn't just romantic partnerships. We have the same relationship with family and with friends. If you have an Earth Venus, you're going to do things for your friends. You're going to show up to support them. If you have, say, a Water Venus, you're not really going to care so much about starting the car when it's cold, but you're going to be more into displaying your emotions in some way. So writing poetry, maybe going out and dancing and holding your partner close. If you have a Fire Venus, you're going to be more into grandiose displays, passion, intensity, and fun. Fire Venuses are all about the act of love. Air Venus is way different. Air Venus is all about meeting someone in the intellectual realm. So connecting with the mind of a Venus in air sign person is where you win their heart. And remember, this is for all relationships. So if you have a sibling, if you have a neighbor, if you have a coworker who has an Air Venus, talk to them about something that matters to them. That's where you connect in. This is why understanding astrology is so important, because we can use the knowing of our own self and our people in our life to connect on ways that are meaningful. Now money. Money's the next thing I have here. This one is not so fun, but it's pretty significant because our Venus sign again shows us our understanding and relationship to money. Looking at our budgets is essential during a Venus retrograde because we are reevaluating our understanding of money, our relationship to it. Are we living within our means? Are we going beyond our means? Do we have more and we're afraid to spend it? We are also looking at, in the house of Venus, how we attract money to us and where we're spending our money. I mean, we do it every day, period. But how many people actually know what's in their bank account at any given time? And how many people are aware? I mean, how many times do we hear the commercials? And I don't even remember who it's for, but they're like, yeah, I can't remember the name. Irrelevant. But there's lots of different companies that are advertising that we can help you get your subscription services in order because you didn't know you had 5 subscriptions. Or if you're in New England, I hear this one all the time from Massachusetts. They're like, you have money in a bank account you didn't know about. Claim you lost money, right? Venus rules this. So again, earth signs probably are a little more aware of their budgets. People that are air signs, they may think about it, but they're not actually paying foundational attention to it. Fire signs, yeah, you guessed it, they like to blow through money. And water signs, well, they spend it when they're emotionally triggered. Again, these are just like super basic things. There's so much more involved to it, but, you know, trying to keep it short. Values. Now, we all know what values are when we say it, just like we know what money is, just like we know what love is. But have you ever really stopped to think about what your values are? Values being the essential keystones of your life, the things that you guide your journey by. Most of us don't really pay that much attention to it. We just kind of have a general sense of knowing, and we just go through life with it. But it is essential to know what your values are, because your values define the way you live your life. And if something comes up that's not within your value system and you don't really understand that, that's when we get sense of anxiety, of nervousness, of uncertainty, because it goes against our true values. So it's important to know what your values really are. It is so hot today. Whew. Actually, it's not as hot as much as it's humid. Yuck. Okay, art and beauty. So art and beauty are absolutely in Venus's world, because Venus is the goddess of beauty. So beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Again, goes back to your natal Venus sign. What do you deem beautiful? What do you like in terms of art, in terms of your car, your house, your clothes, the way you present yourself? Are you a woman that wears makeup? Are you, what is it? That goes into your Venus sign. Art and your relationship to it is also your Venus sign. So what you like for art, but also what you create for art. Are you somebody that's all into art, or are you not really feeling that much of an artistic person in a traditional sense? Understanding your artistry, what that is, does not have to be painting. It can be cooking. It can be writing. It can be anything that is coming from your inner creativity. Very important thing to again understand, because if we know what our creative gifts are, we can make something amazing that I guarantee if you create from your heart, other people will be inspired by, and it will improve their life in some way. I guarantee it. Now, the last one here I have in big, big letters, because this one is so important. And I'll get into why in the retrograde phase this is important. But in the world we live in today, let's call it what it is. We're in a rat race. We don't slow down. We don't make time for ourselves and to care for our own needs. But it is absolutely essential that we take care of ourselves. How can we ever love anyone else, whether that be a partner, a parent, a child, a sibling, a neighbor, a coworker, a stranger on the street? How can we love them if we can't love ourselves? And how, if you're a parent, can you ever take care of your child if you never take care of yourself? In a relationship, how can you take care of your relationship without taking care of yourself? So self-worth, self-love, so significantly important, and is something that we have absolutely let slide. It's not a criticism. That's not a shaming thing. We all do it. That's the world we live in. It's a fault in the system, 1000%. And the only way that we change that is that we, each one of us as an individual, stand up and say, I'm going to love me. I'm going to make time for me. I'm going to take care of myself, my needs, my wants. I matter. When I'm whole, then I can love the rest of the world. And you know how many people don't love themselves today? It is horrifying how many people do not know and love themselves. Again, this is why we do astrology work. This is why we take the time, because through modalities like astrology, we get to know ourselves. Just doing this is doing self-love, because you're looking at yourself for who you truly are. All right, now let's look at some themes. And then I'll break down the retrograde as it is. So, Venus retrograde themes, things that you do and you don't want to do. On the do side, you do want to go within. With every retrograde, it's the universe, God, the divine, whatever the word is that works for you, is asking us to go within. So we're listening to ourself first and foremost. We're connecting with our higher self, and we are going in and looking at ourselves probably in a really deep and vulnerable way, which goes with the second thing, being vulnerable and honest. First and foremost, do it with yourself. Look at yourself and see what your needs are. What your needs are for yourself, for your person, in your world, what you may need to change in your house, what you may need to change in your routine, what you may need to change in your relationships, blah, 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 blah. Being honest and vulnerable with yourself, first and foremost, is where the change comes in. It's hard to look at yourself and see and admit your flaws, but those of us who are brave enough to do that are the ones that make the biggest improvements and live through the most joy. Think of it as a wound. If you have a big gash on your arm and you never take care of it, it's going to fester and fester and fester, and then it could lead to God knows what. You have to love yourself as a whole in the same way. And it ain't easy to say, I've been doing this wrong, but we need to, especially during Venus retrograde, where self-worth is so important. Self-care fits perfectly in the next thing. I said before, making time to look at yourself. Now it's making a commitment to every single day. Every single day. Giving yourself, even if it's only 5 minutes, but it's 5 minutes for you. And it's not lock yourself in the bathroom and look at your phone. No. What you would tell your friend to do for themselves. Have the conversation with yourself. What would I tell my friend if they were in my shoes? Okay? This is the advice I would give. Now go do it. Whatever you need for you, make it happen. Even if it's just going and sitting outside in silence and being in the air and hearing the birds, that's fine. It doesn't have to be a big thing. It can be just existing in peace. But make a point to do it, commit to it, and stick to it. And then the last one, this one isn't so fun, but it's time to look at your budget. It really is. You got to figure out what you're doing. Venus rules money, like we said. It's a perfect time to, if you aren't doing what you need to do, you're spending too much or you're afraid to spend money, step into it, look at it, and reevaluate. Because in the retrograde, we're going within, we're making changes for ourselves, but we also have help from beyond the veil here. So we have a spirit team that's with us all the time, but when we go within, your spirit team is like, they're doing the work, and they help you through it. So if you are living in a lack mentality, you can get that support from your spirit guides, your ancestors, God, the divine, whomever, to help you get through that block. Or if you're somebody that's afraid to spend money and you have it, they can help you through that block too. Just a matter of being honest. I wonder if you can hear that. Hold on. I'm going to go close the door. All right, sorry about that. I just wasn't sure if you could hear the vacuum. You may or may not be able to hear it. I don't know what. Here we are. All right, so on the don'ts side, it's not advised to start a relationship during Venus retrograde, and the one underneath it falls in the same thing. You don't want to get engaged, and you really don't want to get married. But I will say, if it's in your soul contract, if it is in your soul's plan to meet your person or to get married, to get engaged, or even to meet someone who comes then leaves, it's for a purpose and it will happen. It's a very general consensus thing to say don't look for a partner, don't start dating, because a lot of times when we're in this retrograde phase, we're going through and are reevaluating, right? So because we're reevaluating, we're not really totally sure on what we want yet. So how can you make a commitment to something if you don't really know what you want? It might be fun for right now, but it probably isn't going to be the end goal. So because we're also in this revisiting phase, we don't want to make any drastic changes to our appearance. This is my natural hair color. If I were to go and just bleach it all blonde, that's going to be a very long process. It's going to be an expensive process. There's a lot of dangerous chemicals involved. And if I'm out of this retrograde and go, oh my Lord, what have I done? Now I got to undo it all. And that's not an easy process. So we don't want to do anything drastic. We don't want to go get a bunch of tattoos because you cannot undo a tattoo. Yes, you could cover it, but you're still there. You still got the ink on you. You don't want to go get piercings. You don't want to go chop your hair off. You don't want to go buy a bunch of new clothes. Again, hand in hand with that is don't make any large commitments or purchases. Again, if it's something that's fated, it's going to happen. If your dream house shows up, your dream house shows up. If, just like with getting married, if this is something you've been doing, looking for a house, or you've been engaged, and it just so happens that this is the only time that you could get the venue, or that offer went through, obviously do it, right? You're not going to sit there and hold back and wait and say, oh, but it's in retrograde. If you've committed long before, then continue with it, right? Don't make big changes in your career, but if in the same field that you've been in, you're starting to think, maybe I need to do things a little differently, that's part of this process. And last piece of overall advice for all of this, and this includes the do part, you can keep a journal, even in your phone, keep just a running, notes where you are having awareness come up, things pop for you that you can go back and reference at any time, because this is a long retrograde period. From June to October is a very long period. This is all summer, beginning of fall. So there's a lot that's going to come up. And I don't know about you, but I ain't going to remember everything from that amount of time. That is way too much time to remember something. So going into it and putting it in writing is really very helpful. And then the last thing, I'll just come back this way. Well, I can go like this. How about this? There we go. And then, hold on, bear with me, friends. There we go. The reason that I put this quote here is really summing up this retrograde. So this retrograde, we talked about what Venus is, we talked about retrograde, talked about Venus retrograde, but this particular retrograde is so significant because it is all in the sign of Leo, and Leo rules our heart. So we are going deep within our heart and getting an understanding of the sacred truths there. We are seeing where we have been living our life, how we've been living our life, with whom we've been living our life, that we have now matured and spiritually and energetically advanced from. There is no shame's not really the right word, but there should be no guilt. That's a better word. There should be no guilt about lovingly releasing anything or anyone that needs to go in your life. A lot of people say that this is the season of breakups and divorces. And while yes, that is true, the underlying root of that is not that you're just bored and you want to divorce, you want to break up. Especially with this retrograde, the underlying reason is we come into a knowing of what we need, of what's right for us. And with this retrograde, Venus being the dispositor of the South Node, we're moving away from the shadow themes of Libra, our South Node. These themes can be codependency. This can be living in complacency to appease other people. It can be things where we are so indecisive that we let others take the lead. We want to move away from that. And because, like I said, Venus is a dispositor of the South Node, it kind of like ramps up the volume to 1,000 because we are now seeing with crystal clarity what we're moving away from. We're also looking at the balance of the back and forth between the North and South Node, Aries and Libra, and understanding that to have a healthy Libra energy, because the goal when you work with the nodes is not to completely run from the South Node. It's to understand your strengths with it and to integrate it into your life now. And the strength of Libra is understanding that relationships are made with two healthy individuals. The theme of Aries, our North Node. So understanding who you are as an individual in the house of Libra, in the house of Venus, is knowing what your values are, what your worth is as an individual. Are you selling yourself short because you're insecure and you're partnered with someone who you deserve more than that? How many people are insecure in themselves and they find somebody else who's also insecure, and you just kind of sit there together in your insecure land? I guarantee there are people in your life, if not you, and that's not a criticism, where you're in this relationship or they're in this relationship because it's safe, it's comfortable, it's easy. When two insecure people sit together, nobody feels pushed to make a change. Nobody feels pushed to be better. A healthy partnership understands the strengths of Aries, that independent person. A healthy relationship is two people who work together. They don't meld into one, they work together. So this retrograde is so important that we understand who we are. We look at those Venus themes that I brought up, understand where we stand in all of those things, and giving ourselves the worth and the value that is right for us. Stop underselling yourself. I guarantee you're underselling yourself. We all are. Maybe not all around, but in one area of life, we all do it. Absolutely. Me too. 100%. We all do. Stop. Stop doing it. That's what this retrograde is asking us to do. It is so, so important to love yourself. That's why on the, here, and I'll see if it will come up. Oh, and it will. That's why on this slide I have self-worth so big, because this is the key to this particular retrograde. Understanding who we are and giving ourselves the respect and love we deserve. So this quote here, and here we go. The desire to know your own soul will end all other desires. That is so perfect, because when you love yourself and you know yourself, you're not looking for external validation. And Venus tends to look for the external validation. You look into her mythology, and she was all about being admired. I mean, you look at some of the things that happened. She got jealous in what she did, and she wasn't so nice. Jealousy is a Venetian theme, whether we want to see that or not. Insecurity is a Venetian theme, whether we want to see that or not. So it's important that we step into a knowing of our worth, committing to loving yourself, committing to doing things for you. Take 5 minutes a day to just do something you want to do for you. Maybe it's just breathing, like I said, or maybe it's getting a new book and learning. Maybe it's trying a new hobby. Maybe it's going somewhere, doing something. I don't know. You know what's right for you. But please, my friends, if you've taken anything away from this, this retrograde is about learning. I don't want to say learning. That's not the right word. It's about remembering who you are and remembering your worth. All right? I hope this helped you, my friends. If you have any questions, as always, please pop them in. Anything that you'd like to see that might help you with this, I am more than happy to do that. I don't know if there's anything else. Is there anything else? I don't think so. If there is, let me know. Thank you all so much for trusting me to help you through this. It truly means a lot to me, and I need to say that more often. I need to express my gratitude. So thank you so much. It is genuinely from my heart space an honor to help you through this. So again, thank you, thank you. I love you all so much. I really do mean that when I say that. Hope this helps. You've got this. We've got this. I love you all, and I will see you again very soon.